He'd dove into the ocean. Not for treasure, but for the one ingredient that could save the world. It was a quiet night in Pausberg. The waves gently kissed the rocky shore, and the stars shimmered like spilled sugar across the sky. Chef Paws stood outside his cozy cliffside restaurant, tail swaying in the salty breeze, sipping a warm cup of sardine latte. Just as he turned to go inside, a letter floated down from the sky, soaked, smudged, and sealed with a seashell. He opened it with a claw. Chef Paws, you are the only one who can find it. The coral recipe. Our underwater world is dying without it. Please, help us. Captain Finn. His whiskers stiffened. The coral recipe was a myth. An underwater culinary legend said to control the balance of flavor and life beneath the sea. If it was real, this was no ordinary cooking quest. He packed his knife set, a waterproof whisk, and one mysterious vial from his shelf labeled "Do not use unless desperate." The sea was calling. By sunrise, Chef Paws stood at the edge of the old harbor, wearing a retro steampunk diving suit modified for feline explorer's brass helmet, glowing eyes, and a little air tank shaped like a tuna can. Next to him waited his ride, Captain Finn, a slick, silver-scaled swordfish in a leather pilot cap, and his submarine, the Salt Shark, a rusted, fast, and barely legal machine powered by kelp oil and caffeine. You sure you're ready for this, Whiskers? Finn asked, adjusting his goggles with a fin. I've sautéed my way out of worse, Paws smirked, flicking his chef's hat into a waterproof dome. With a gurgling roar, the Salt Shark plunged beneath the waves. Light faded into deep indigo, and soon into ink black. Giant shapes swam above. Coral reefs glowed below. Suddenly, an alarm blared. Warning, crustacean zone. Out of the shadows, dozens of crab scouts appeared armored in seaweed, armed with bubble blasters. They didn't look happy. Intruders. One screeched, especially furry ones. Chef Paws tightened his gloves and leaned toward the hatch. Time to turn up the heat. As the Salt Shark was surrounded, Captain Finn whispered, "Whatever you're cooking, Paws, make it fast." Chef Paws opened a secret hatch and pulled out a cast-iron skillet. Time to stir-fry some diplomacy. He emerged from the sub in his steampunk suit, holding the skillet high. The crab scouts raised their weapons but paused when they caught the scent. Garlic, ginger, sea salt butter sizzling on kelp. Wait, one crab sniffed. Is that caramelized seaweed? Chef Paws flipped a piece into the air. The crab stared, mesmerized, as it landed with a crisp sizzle. He plated tiny samples on shells and slid them across the sand. A peace offering, he said. The crab leader hesitated, then tasted. His eyes widened. His claws dropped. He fell to his knees. We've been boiling everything for centuries. This is flavor. Cheers erupted. One crab yelled, "Get this cat to the queen." Just like that, the underwater army turned into a royal escort, parading the feline chef through tunnels of glowing plankton and singing jellyfish choirs. But Chef Paws couldn't shake the feeling. Why would someone bury a forbidden ingredient here? And how deep is it hidden? He clutched his skillet tighter. The real recipe was still ahead, and someone didn't want him to find it. The glowing tunnels opened into a cavern so vast it echoed with whale song. At the center sat a throne carved from ancient coral, and on it Queen Claudia, a colossal crab with a crown made of polished pearl and truffle salt crystals. Her eyes narrowed at Chef Paws. "So, you're the surface cooker trespassing in my pantry." Paws bowed, holding up a tray. "Your Majesty, I come only to seek the forbidden ingredient and maybe share a snack." Claudia sniffed the air. "Is that sea urchin creme brulee?" She snapped her claw. "Bring him forward." As Chef Paws approached, he noticed something strange. The throne's base bore a carving. A recipe. But it was scratched out, violently. Only 2 words were legible. Tears and memory. Claudia noticed him staring. That was the last chef who came here. He tried to unlock the forbidden ingredient, and lost himself. She leaned in. "Do you really think you're different, little Tabby?" Paws straightened his chef hat. "I don't cook to conquer. I cook to heal." A tense silence followed, then the Queen broke into a grin. "Very well, Chef Paws. The ingredient you seek lies beneath the rift of regret. But be warned. It's guarded by something worse than claws. What could be worse than claws? He asked. She whispered one word. Memories. Suddenly, the ground rumbled. A crack opened beneath them, glowing with an eerie green light. Captain Finn radioed in. Pause. Something's rising from the rift. Chef Paws adjusted his goggles. Looks like dinner's about to get emotional. The crack widened beneath Chef Paws' paws, and a gust of salty air whooshed upward. It carried a scent that made his fur stand on end. Not rot. Not danger. Nostalgia. Queen Claudia remained silent as the glowing fissure pulled Chef Paws downward, gently like a memory guiding a dream. He landed softly in a strange underwater chamber. The walls shimmered like jellyfish, showing moving images not of the present, but of his past. One vision showed him as a kitten, burning a tray of cookies and crying as his father. A grumpy but kind chef gently ruffled his ears. Another memory, the moment he first put on his iconic white chef hat, swearing he'd make food that made people feel again. Then he heard it. A voice. His voice. You think food heals others, but who's healing you? Pause. He spun around and froze. A shadowy version of himself stood before him. Eyes glowing green, chef hat scorched and torn. You abandoned your first dish, remember? The one you made for her. Chef Paws tried to look away, but the chamber wouldn't let him. A memory surfaced: a tabby cat in a sundress, laughing as they cooked together. The scent of cinnamon and betrayal filled the air. Shadow Paws stepped closer. To claim the forbidden ingredient, you must confront your deepest regret. Chef Paws reached into his bag and pulled out a small spice jar. It was empty. Then let me refill this. With the truth. Suddenly, the room dimmed. The ground cracked again. From the center, a glowing lotus rose, the forbidden ingredient in physical form. But behind it stood a figure no recipe could prepare him for. His father. Alive. But different. Made of memory and regret. His voice thundered. Show me you're more than a cook. Show me you can forgive. Even yourself. Chef Paws stepped forward, paws shaking. Chef Paws stood still, heart hammering like a war drum. Before him, the apparition of his father, not the kind mentor he remembered, but a spectral giant made of flickering. Flame and ash towered over the glowing lotus. You ran from your first failure, the ghost said, voice heavy with smoke. Do you still believe a perfect dish can erase your past? Paws swallowed hard. He wasn't that trembling kitten anymore. He had traveled through betrayal, illusions, and ancient riddles. He'd earned the scars on his paws. But the guilt still simmered. He stepped closer to the lotus. Its petals pulsed with warmth, glowing gold, not dangerous, not divine, just true. Suddenly, the ghost lunged. The chamber burst into swirling flame. Chef Paws fell back, narrowly avoiding the burning claws. This is your final test, the voice roared. Do you fight me? Or feed me? Chef Paws looked down at the empty spice jar in his paw. Then, he smiled. From his pack, he pulled out ingredients. Sea salt from Claudia's tears. Peppercorns from the old raccoon merchant. A pinch of rosemary from the cliffside where he once broke down. And, finally, a single drop of cinnamon oil, the one she had left behind. He poured it all into a small silver pan, lit a flame from his own heart, and stirred. The ghost watched, trembling. Chef Paws turned to him and whispered, You taught me how to cook. Now let me show you how to heal. He offered the dish, humble, fragrant, steaming with memory. The ghost took it, tasted, and smiled. In a burst of golden light, the chamber melted away. Chef Paws found himself back in the throne room. Queen Claudia's eyes were wide with awe. The forbidden ingredient now glowing in his paw shimmered not with magic, but meaning. He had passed the test. But before he could breathe, a shadow slithered from the walls. A new voice. Hissing. Cold. Well done, little chef. But you're not the only one who came looking for it. A figure emerged. Hooded. Familiar. The old raccoon. Only now, his eyes glowed red. Chef Paws stared, disbelief tightening his throat. You. He whispered. But you helped me. You taught me. The old raccoon stepped forward, shadows dripping from his cloak like ink in water. His once tired eyes now gleamed with cruel clarity. "Oh, I did help you," the raccoon grinned, "because I needed you to unlock the lotus. Only a pure heart could reach it. Mine," he tapped his chest, "was too bitter." Chef Paws clenched his paws. So it was a game all along. But why? He asked, voice cracking. "What would you even do with it?" The raccoon held up a vial dark, swirling, and humming with twisted energy. "The forbidden ingredient isn't just flavor. It's memory. Add it to any dish, and people don't taste, they feel. Their most sacred memories, their deepest wounds. All mine to exploit." Paws gasped. "You'd use it to control them." "To own them," the raccoon snarled. "Imagine a world where one meal can make a king surrender. Or a queen. Fall in love." Behind them, Queen Claudia drew her sword. But the raccoon moved fast. In one blink, he hurled a dark powder at the ground. Smoke exploded, blinding. When it cleared, he had the forbidden ingredient and Paws' trusted silver pan in his claw. "Thank you, little chef," he hissed. "I'll be serving the world. A dish they'll never forget." And with that, he vanished into a hole in the shadows. Chef Paws collapsed to his knees. The throne room was silent, broken. Queen Claudia rushed to him, placing a paw on his shoulder. "This isn't over," she said firmly. "He stole your pan, but not your fire." Chef Paws looked up, eyes blazing now not with doubt, but resolve. "Then we hunt him. Across oceans if we must." Claudia grinned. "Then let's sharpen our claws." A week had passed. Every major capital across the continent was reporting the same. Chilling phenomenon. Crowds enchanted by unknown street food. Leaders zoning out after a single bite. Citizens forgetting who they were, only remembering a feeling. "I want more." Chef Paws pinned red yarn on the map. From Sushiville to Tofu Town, and now, Molten Mocha Market. "He's testing the ingredient," he growled. "Seeing how far he can push minds before they snap." Claudia nodded, armored and ready. "He's leaving behind a trail. Not of breadcrumbs, but of recipes." They arrived in Molten Mocha Market just before sundown. The air was thick with cinnamon, syrup, and something darker. Children giggled strangely. Old dogs stared blankly at walls. And deep in the square, a massive food truck pulsed with glowing sigils. It was named Memory Bites. Chef Paws climbed the steps, heart thudding. Inside, a single dish sat under glass, a shadow soufflé swirling with mist and whispers. He leaned in, then froze. His mother's lullaby. Her voice, humming softly from the soufflé. A memory he hadn't thought about in years. Weaponized. Claudia dragged him back. "It's laced," she snapped. "He's binding people to their past, turning it into addiction." Suddenly, a loudspeaker crackled. The raccoon's voice echoed through the air. "Chef Paws, I knew you'd follow. But you're too late. The final recipe is almost ready. And when I serve it at the Grand Tasting Gala, the world will belong to me." Chef Paws gritted his teeth. "Not if we get there first." He turned to Claudia. "It's time to cook a dish of our own, one that reminds people who they really are." She smirked. "Hope. In a bowl." "Exactly," he said. "We are going to fight flavor with feeling." In the heart of their hidden kitchen van, Chef Paws and Claudia began crafting their counterdish. A recipe not to control minds, but to awaken them. He called it the Soul Stew. Each ingredient was handpicked with intention. A tear-shaped truffle from the forest of first laughter it evoked forgotten joy. Crushed midnight basil grown only where moonlight touches memory. Salt of sincerity gathered from the sea when someone says, "I forgive you." As they cooked, flashbacks flooded them both. Paws remembered his first meal made with his mother. Claudia recalled the day she stood up to her master chef and walked away. "This dish isn't just food," Paws whispered. "It's truth." But time was running out. The Grand Tasting Gala was tonight, and the raccoon would be presenting his final ingredient to the world's culinary elite. One bite, and they'll be his, Claudia warned. They'll forget their values, even their names. "Not if we serve first," Paws replied, eyes fierce. Dressed in elegant disguises, they infiltrated the gala. The ballroom shimmered with crystal chandeliers and robotic waiters. Ambassadors, food critics, and royalty mingled, hypnotized already by the raccoon's seductive appetizers. Suddenly, a gong sounded. "Let the tasting begin," boomed the host. As trays rolled out with the final ingredient, Paws made his move. He stepped onto the stage, holding a single steaming bowl. "Before you taste lies," he said, "taste something real." He offered a spoonful of soul stew to the skeptical crowd. At first, silence. Then, tears. Then, names being spoken. One by one, the enchanted guests began to remember. A birthday they hadn't thought of in years. A loved one they swore never to forget. A version of themselves they thought was gone. The room shifted. The trance cracked. The raccoon stormed in, eyes glowing with fury. "You dare defy my flavor empire." "This isn't about flavor anymore," Paws said, stepping forward. "This is about freedom."